Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. This is a Saturday, November 29th, 2025, and it's rare that I do a Saturday show, but I really have to. And just as a warning to anyone watching, it's a conservative-based podcast. This is going to be a wordy podcast because I'm going to speak about the Democrats who are telling our military not to follow illegal orders. And I'm going to jump into that. And some of you are not going to be happy with what I'm going to read off of 9 prepared pages. This is going right at the heart of the matter and what the Democrats are not telling the American people. And this is all the truth. Everything I'm going to say in these 9 pages, you can look up for yourself and find. I would suggest you not use the Google AI search engine, but you would go to Grok and pull up the information that I'm going to give you. And you can fact check me. So, I don't know how long this is going to take. I read through it. It's a 15-minute read, but I'm going to probably be stopping in between there to give you my take. All right. This is going to be episode 167, I think. I somehow screwed up the count there, but we'll figure it out. House Democrats are starting to show a crack in the support of the statement that the seditious six had made to our military troops on following illegal orders. While most House Democrats support the statement in general, some House members are facing backlash from their home districts. Not enough at this point to have them backtrack and speak out on the merits of the comments, but there is a split in the Democratic public on the statement made by the 6 lawmakers, from the point of them approving it to the point of them condemning it. Now, can they say what they said? Yes. You have the liberty to say what you want to say, but you must also take the responsibility of what you say. Now, the progressive media has clung to the narrative made by the 6 that the message was just a reminder of the military's obligation of their oath of service. The message made public by the 6 lawmakers suggests that these 6 Democrats know of illegal orders being given to our troops and our military need not to be afraid to disobey said orders. Now, I don't know any illegal orders that they cited, and I'll get into that later. But the Republicans should keep up the pressure and demand to know from the 6 Democrats and the Democrats in the houses just what orders that any commander in any of our branch of services or intelligence community was unlawful. To make a unified statement as was made, merits such a question. Other questions should be raised: who paid for the video and production costs? Where did the funds for such uh, productions come from? And if there are any expenses related to the production of their statement. If they used our tax dollars to do it, they should tell us. They can. They can do that. They can use tax dollars to inform their constituents. They can do that. But it has to be shown. It has to be out there. It has to be obvious. If the money came from someone else, we have the right to know that too. So was there anyone else giving this money? Did this come from any political action committee? Who? So the questions need to be asked. There can be no doubt in any person's mind that the statement made by these 6 lawmakers was not about our troops following illegal orders. Each one of these 6 Democrats know how orders are to be followed and the duty of our military personnel in giving orders to our service people. These were all people in the military or in the intelligence community who had to abide by those same regulations, which is you must follow the Constitution and you must follow the military code, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So you have to follow those. There's no getting around that. And I'll get into the real meat and potatoes of that a little bit longer. This is a 9-page manifesto. This was a blatant use of using our military as a political tool by the Democrats to discredit not only the current administration, but of the people who serve in our armed forces and our intelligence services. This is a hit on our FBI. This is a hit on our CIA. This is a hit on our NSA. And there can be no doubt in anybody's mind that this was not a political action. This was a political statement. This was not one out of abundance of caution. I must remind you folks of your obligation. Our military knows their obligation. They always have. And we have people in the military that verify and make sure. And if there's any violation, that it's brought to the attention of superiors and it's dealt with. This is not just people saying go out and be wild. Our military knows what to do. And when we tell our military, this is the enemy, this is how we want you to handle that. If you are just there to observe and report, that's all you can do. Observe and report. If you're there to observe, act, and defend, then that's what you do. Defend means you use all available options at your disposal. And if you are told to engage the enemy, with all means at your disposal and at your discretion. Remember using the legal parameters set forth in our rules of engagement. Okay, let me go on. The president's called it a seditious act, in that they're trying to convince the American people that somehow our military is following illegal orders for the purposes of a political and illegal action, and that the military is complicit in acting against our citizens and should not follow the commands of their superiors if they feel they are not lawful. And I'll get into that a little bit deeper, because what the seditious six is really their ultimate goal. It is the disruption of our military personnel, and I'll get into that too. Let me explain to you in very simple terms how our system of government and military work in our republic, with working between the civilian, the constitutional side, which our military must follow, and how our military operates. It's very wordy. The president provides direction to the military and its associated departments, which is legally the Department of Defense, DoD, primarily through the Secretary of Defense, who the president has authorized to use a secondary title, Secretary of War. The president's orders are typically communicated via executive actions such as an executive order and national security presidential memorandum, which directs the secretary to carry out specific actions. Using an executive order, the president can issue an executive order to direct the department on matters within the executive branch's authority. Now, we already know that the power of the executive branch is mighty and truly unlimited. It has infinity power until otherwise told no, within our set parameters. Can the president order the execution of an American citizen? Yes. By our military? Yes. It's been done. President Obama did it, as did presidents going all the way back. Just so you know that. This isn't anything new, folks. This is nothing that is being done, new by a president. He's being challenged on things, and then the Supreme Court rules on the constitutionality of his actions. Does it fall within the guardrails of the executive branch? It's very simple. The Secretary can recommend legislative actions for a permanent name change. So, Department of War, which it used to be known as, so it's not many things. Commander-in-Chief's authority. President, Article 2 of the Constitution. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. This authority allows the President to issue direct military orders for operation and the protection of national interests. So, if you have people attacking federal agents and the police cannot or will not protect those federal officers, buildings, property, cars, whatever. The president is authorized under Article 2 of the Constitution to put troops on the ground there. Did you know that? Were you aware of that? Because I'm making you aware of it under Article 2 of the Constitution. All right? Let's move on. Presidential Memorandum. The President can issue a National Security Presidential Memoranda, NSPMS, to provide direction on national security and defense matters, which are binding on federal departments and agencies. Binding. Do you know what that means? It means, technically, your hands are bound. You cannot question it. But I'll say that a little bit differently as I go on. Just the actions of the president can be questioned. We'll go on. So calm down, Bob in New York. Calm down. The chain of command. Orders flow from the president to the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, and then down through the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the military leaders to the troops. Now this also then goes through a layer of military persons like in JAG, where they look at it and they go, yeah, you can't do this, or, you know, and our military is fully aware on what they can and cannot do. This is nothing new. Budgetary and legislative proposals. The President can order the Secretary to recommend specific legislative or executive actions necessary to implement the administration's goals. And I'll use as an example, like changing the name, changing the department's name, or allocating funds. You know, they give examples of what they can do, but the President can do a lot legally under Article 2. Now, they're saying don't follow illegal orders, which is fine. You shouldn't rob a bank either. There are certain things that you know that are patently illegal. You know it. You can't murder someone. You can't abuse them. You can't beat them up. You can't rob and steal from them. You know that is wrong. All right. If a military member is following an illegal order, they could face legal consequences, including court-martial or prosecuted for war crimes, even if they were following a presidential order. Now that is a very bold statement. It's all true. Conversely, service members have a legal and ethical duty to refuse orders that are manifestly illegal. And they go into such as those that violate the Constitution or international law. The military has legal counsel to advise on the legality of orders, and senior commanders are obligated to refuse an unlawful order if they determine it to be so. So, the seditious six are telling military, if you believe that that it's an illegal order, you don't have to obey it, or you can question it to the point of not following that command. Okay? So that's what they're saying you can do. Consequences of following an illegal order: criminal liability. Military members can be held liable and prosecuted. Court-martial. Service members who follow an order to commit a crime, violation of the Constitution or international human rights standards can be court-martialed. International prosecution. In some cases, service members could face prosecution by international tribunals for war crimes or human rights violations. The duty to refuse any legal order. Legal obligation. Service members have a duty to disobey orders that are patently illegal, such as those that direct the commission of a crime. Now, we're going to go into what patently illegal means for the military, because it's different than it is for you and me. Constitutional duty. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law. Understand that. In that statement, remember I talked about the executive branch. It's constitutional. The service members swear to uphold it, which includes refusing to follow orders that violate it. Guidance and the legality. The UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice, and its associated manuals state that an order is lawful unless it's contrary to the Constitution, U.S. laws, or lawful superior orders. And all the military intelligent people that work under the branch of the government, hand in hand with the military, have to abide by those rules and conditions. And they do, every day. The standard of knowledge. Yesterday I talked that a lot of people don't understand the Constitution because the guardrails are so set and are so well maintained that you don't have to. Our system of government revolves around working inside the guardrails of the Constitution. But the service members are protected if they do not know an order was unlawful. But they can't be punished for following one that a person of ordinary sense and understanding would know is unlawful. Hey, go break into that person's house. Why? Drug that person and let's have our way with them. We're going to blow up a government office building. No, I know that that's illegal. You can't do that. Let's beat this person up. Let's do a code red on them. You can't do that. The military and government checks and balances, legal review. The military's legal advisors are available to review orders to determine their legality. You think if the president gives an order to the Secretary of War and he brings it down to the Joint Chiefs of Staffs, the Joint Chiefs of Staffs don't instantly run that through and go, this could be a problem over here if someone brings this up or goes down this way, but in the meantime, we can do this because we feel it's within our scope, but people can question it. You don't think that happens? Command responsibility. Commanders have the specific obligation to refuse an order if they determine it to be unlawful. Now, the seditious six say you should know this and you should do this, and you can refuse an order. Let's dig a little bit deeper into that. Another means of protection is congressional oversight. Congress can pass laws to invalidate an executive order and can refuse funding to prevent them from being carried out. Remember when I said the executive orders are, yeah, up to a point. So Bob, calm down. And I said that way in the beginning, that the executive orders are infinity until challenged on the constitutionality. That is not patently known. I mean, there are things in the Constitution that's already defined, already there. We know you can't do that. So, what happens if the president, well, let's go put this out first. If the Supreme Court rules a presidential military order unconstitutional, that order is no longer valid and cannot be lawfully enforced. So, if the order to put troops into California or Tennessee or anywhere else that might not have asked for a military assistance, if the Supreme Court turned around and said, no, you don't have that right to do that, Mr. President, then that military order is no longer viable. It can't be used. So it must be rescinded. Those troops would then be put back, and then legal consequences can follow from that. This invalidation places the burden on military personnel not to follow the order, though this can be complicated by the military's training to follow orders and potentially political pressure. I'm not sure about the political pressure side. I'm more saying that it's a lawful order. Congress could also take such actions, as I said, passing legislation to nullify the order and withholding funding for it. How it affects impact on the military. Order is void. The Supreme Court ruling makes the order invalid, and no one in the military is legally obligated to follow it. Now, if people do follow it, and it's not a lawful order, then we descend into military chaos. And that just wouldn't happen. That's not where these senators were going. The lawmakers were going. It's not where they were going into that sense. They were going the other way. Service members' duty. In theory, service members have a duty to refuse an unlawful order. However, they might face pressure to follow the order as well as risk of punishment if they refuse. Which is 100% the truth. This creates a chaotic situation where individual commanders face personal risk and legal liability for following an order that is later deemed unconstitutional, while also being trained to follow orders and not resist them. Do you see what the seditious six were trying to do? Now, again, legislation, the Congress could pass legislation to go, nope, can't do that. And the order is then rescinded and you can't do it. That kind of ends it in that sense. They could refuse the funding and pull back and, we're not going to fund the military. You can't do this. Just not going to happen. An order is patently illegal if it is clearly and obviously a violation of the United States Constitution or federal law. So, you couldn't take someone and go, well, we captured them, we're going to make them a slave. You can't do that. Well, that did all. There's questions on that under the Constitution, just so you know. Prison labor. Look it up. Being forced into servitude. Look it up. If there's a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and troops are not lawyers, they're given a list of things that they know that they cannot do, and the higher up the ranks you go is the more observant people are of orders. So if they're coming down, and I'll just use an example. In World War II, the Army started executing SS officers in death camps, shooting, lining them up, shooting them. And that was put to a stop to pretty quick by Eisenhower. And some of these soldiers that continued doing it were brought up on court-martial charges. And they had to go through the legal process of breaking an order, and then later on, remember the idea of I was just following orders, did not hold up in the Geneva Convention and the Nuremberg trials. That did not stand the test. The order has no legitimate military purpose or is beyond the authority of the person issuing it. Meaning, a pilot can't shoot down an airplane inside the confines of the United States, or basically anywhere else except in the act of a military. You're go up, anyone crosses this line, you shoot them down. If it's a military aircraft, it's a commercial line or whatever, we don't know. Before you fire, you got to let us know. And we'll give you the order. You are authorized to take action. The lawfulness of an order is ultimately a question of law to be determined by a military judge during a court-martial, which means the service member refuses an order at their peril. The defense of just following orders is not valid for patently illegal commands. So they know, you're given a list of things that, hey, if you don't know it, you know it now. And we're going to question you on it. Now, this is the wordy one. This is page 9. And I've been doing this good. It should be 45 minutes long. This whole thing. Any military member of the United States cannot interpret the Constitution as illegal and refuse to obey a lawful order based on the interpretation. So I can't sit there and go, no, I feel that this is any legal action, I refuse to do it. Well, you will be placed under arrest and court-martialed. However, a service member is legally obligated to refuse an order that they believe to be unconstitutional. And they have a duty to challenge or question orders that appear to violate the Constitution or other laws. This is where the seditious six are trying to undermine not the military, the citizens. To think somehow the military is acting in a manner against the Constitution to halt your rights or the Republic's right. The determination of an order's legality is complex. And if the service member wrongly refuses a lawful order, they can face serious consequences, such as punishment under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So, these military people are told basically what is allowed and what is not allowed. We have commanders that know the difference, and it goes all the way up here to all the way down here to the foot soldier. They know what they can do. They know what they're ordered to do. If the interest of the United States is in question, if you can show, if the president can show that protection of federal buildings and federal officers, they're burning cars, people are attacking them, they're defacing buildings, they're threatening people, they're following people, they're trying to hurt people, federal officers. Article 2, you can do it all. Intercepting drug cartels bringing drugs that are destined for the United States or any country where the United States is a partner with in stopping illegal narcotic trafficking. Guess what the president can do? He can stop it by all means at his disposal. Now, if a president said, the opium is coming from these fields, and let's nuke the opium fields, I guarantee you there'd be people going, yeah, we're not going to do that, Mr. President. Because the military objective, you could use a 50-pound sledgehammer to put a tack nail in. But you could also use an 8-ounce tack hammer to do it without destroying anything while you're swinging away a 50-pound sledgehammer. Singling out a boat, blowing it up, that's carrying drugs, that's perfectly fine. Blowing up a village because there's drugs being made there and manufactured there, I don't know if that's a good idea. As a last option, but I don't think that's a standard practice that the military would be saying, hey, Mr. President, I think that's a good idea. Blowing up drug labs in a jungle with the country's involved participation, hey, I'm all in. Attacking countries whose government is intertwined into drugs. You sat down with the military, and the military said, yeah, they're absolutely, the government is a sponsor of the drug cartels, and we have the information, we know it. And you go after to decapitate the government and then go after the drugs, yeah, you can do that. Because you're protecting the American people. You could connect the dots. You might be like this and like that and back and around and back, but you'll connect those dots. And if the government is smart enough, they'll have a picture. They go, look, I connected here, 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 and look what I got. I got the picture. Just because you connect dots doesn't mean there's a picture there. It could just be total chaos. What the seditious six and the Democrats are pushing is for a civil war, is for the citizens to rise up against the military, not the other way around. The military will not take arms up against its citizens. But in the defense of federal buildings, in the defense of federal employees, in the defense of federal police, yeah, if you act illegally, you're going to be dealt with. Legally. Legally. If you're an illegal status individual here, you will be caught and you will be held accountable for your actions and deported. That's what's going to happen. Now, is everything foolproof? No. No. Is there going to be every 1,000 people caught? Some innocent person's going to be jammed up in it and it will take a while to rectify? Yeah. Yeah, it will happen. But what the Democrats are trying to do, what the seditious six are trying to do, is to whip the public up against the military. Not the military against the citizens. That just won't happen. It won't happen. The other way around, to turn our people against our military, is a lot easier for them to do. And that's what they're doing. Mark Kelly is a piece of feces. He is a liar when he says, I'm just reminding the military. He's not reminding them. The military doesn't need reminding. And he knows it. He knows it. What the Socialist Democrat Communists did was find the 6 stupidest people that would sit in front of a camera and do this. That's what they did. They found the 6 stupidest people to do it. And you could dislike the Trump administration. That's fine. No problem with that. But to use our military in a political manner in which you're using it, it's disgraceful. And this is the Democrats who feel that they can do whatever they want to do. They could say whatever they want to say without. You hold the president up to every word he says. He tells he tells, someone, hey, you're stupid. Oh my God, oh, how he do that? But he's telling our troops, disobey the order, go through a court martial, and serve 20 years in prison. Or because you didn't want to do something, six service people or 6 federal agents were killed. And it was a lawful order. This is how despicable these Democrats have become. And come November 2026, gotta vote them out. There are some Democrats that are saying, hey, I'm not for this. This is not how I would have done it. All right. Stand up. Be a John Fetterman. Stand up. Stand up and be heard. Stand up and be counted. But you won't. Because you're spineless. And you'd rather see this country go down the tubes than to risk political alienation from the people on the top, where it's the people that in your districts that you should be worried about. It shows the desperation that the Democrats have and how much they truly fear what President Trump has said he was going to do that got him elected and is now doing. That you fear his success over the health and well-being of our citizens. You'd rather see drugs and illegals here committing crimes. Because if Trump is cleaning all that up, he's being successful in what he said he was going to do, and you can't stand that. You can't stand that. Democrats truly have TDS. And you have to snap out of it. Now, there are things that Trump wants to do and is doing that I don't agree with. I think you're wrong. I think that's the wrong approach to go. But you don't hear people, you just hear them, no. Illegals aren't the problems. 32 million people, how many of them on welfare? How many are getting money through government agencies that should not be giving them government money? They sidestepped. No. This is about the Democrats wanting to turn the civilian population against our military. That is sedition. You tell me why the military needed to be reminded of that fact. Give me one legitimate reason. That you would tell our troops to disobey orders. It's because you don't like Trump. You don't like the fact that he is succeeding in doing what he said he was going to do, and you were against. I have no problems with you questioning him or questions about our military's use. I have no problems with that. We should be doing that. That doesn't make you a bad American or a good American. It just makes you an American. You can do it. But what you can't do is tell troops, wink, wink, you don't have to follow orders. And that's what you've done. And this is how the Republicans should be playing this hard. And I mean hard. It is not fair to do to our troops. That's not cool. All right. I'm going to end this after 50 minutes. Give to a charity. If you don't feel comfortable giving to a charity, please think about giving to a food bank. Food, they always take the food. They will take monetary donations because they know exactly what they need. Food is always there. Giving food is a great thing. But money lets them pinpoint exactly what they need it for and what food they know people use and eat. Say a prayer. Prayer works regardless of what a Democrat might tell you. And if you ask me, I'll tell you why I say that. All right. With that, everyone be safe, be good. And I doubt if I'll do a show tomorrow. I will not be doing a show Friday the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th. There'll be no show. I got to take care of things. So I'm not going to be available. All right, all. I'll keep you informed. If anything should pop up, you'll hear it from me. All right, all. Thank you. As I fade to